Welcome to Daily Wisdom, Walking the Path with the Buddha, a podcast shared by David Roylance. This podcast is dedicated to guiding you to completely eliminate the discontent mind and the suffering it causes by attaining enlightenment. Learn and practice the teachings of Gotama Buddha that will guide you to fully attain a peaceful, calm, serene, and content mind with joy. To support this podcast, visit patreon.com/supportbuddha or visit buddhadailywisdom.com, where you will discover a full range of courses, retreats, and online learning resources to assist you on the path to enlightenment. Now, here's our teacher to share more.
Sawadee Kap. Hello and welcome to Daily Wisdom, Walking the Path with the Buddha. Today is our group learning program, and we're starting a 4-part series on Buddhist chanting. Over the next 4 Wednesdays, I'm going to help you develop a Buddhist chanting practice in the Pali language. I'd like to welcome you to our class today. I'm going to start with helping you to understand what Buddhist chanting is and why we actually practice it. Then I'm going to go into helping you to develop your skills around learning how to do Buddhist chanting, and then we're going to actually do Buddhist chanting together. And then as we have time towards the end of our class, we'll probably even do a meditation session together where we incorporate the Buddhist chanting in with the meditation. So welcome to all of you guys. Pleased that you're here. I'm going to use some visual aids to help me share the teachings with you to help you understand the Buddhist chanting topic that I have to share with you today. The first thing to understand as it relates to Buddhist chanting is that as the Buddha taught meditation in his own words, when you see his guidance and his instruction, he talks about setting up mindfulness in front of you. The mindfulness is awareness of mind. This is where you can start bringing attention and awareness of mind, kind of invigorating the mind. The mindfulness itself is awareness of mind. But in terms of meditation, what you're looking to do is set up mindfulness in front of you. This is the words of the Buddha, where he talks about this prior to meditation. He says, set up mindfulness in front of you. So you're bringing some awareness to the mind. So when you're doing Buddhist chanting, it helps you to ease the mind into meditation, developing awareness of the mind, developing concentration, developing memory. It helps you even develop awareness of the breath. It slows down the mind and relaxes the mind. It eases the mind into meditation. It also can provide you this audible indication of improvement to your practice, because oftentimes when people are learning and practicing teachings of the Buddha, they might have a struggle to see early on some of the improvements that they're making to their practice. But as you chant each day and each week, you're going to see this audible indication of the improvement of your practice, and it's going to provide you with motivation and encouragement in your practice. As part of the path to enlightenment, training the mind to get to this peaceful, calm, serene, and content mind with joy, you need to cultivate respect and gratitude towards all beings. One of the things that the chanting has helped me to do is cultivate this respect and gratitude for the elders, including Gotama Buddha himself. That if you think about Gotama Buddha's life, he taught over 2,500 years ago, and these teachings have been handed down for over 2,500 years from person to person to person to person. There's an entire long chain of unnamed people who will never know their names, that these teachings have been handed down from person to person to person, all the way to the point where they're reaching you. So when you're chanting, you might think about that you're receiving these teachings from this long list of people who will never know, and having respect and gratitude for them can really help your own mind to not only develop gratitude and respect for them, but for other people in your life too, whether it's your parents, your siblings, your co-workers, your neighbors, all people around you. You need to have respect and gratitude towards them. Just as I'm sharing what meditation is, it's important to understand what meditation isn't. Meditation isn't mystical or magical. There's no magical benefits associated with chanting. Some people will share with you that you get an extra long life, or you can get wealthy, or you can get your boyfriend or girlfriend to come back to you, or you can instantly get to enlightenment by chanting certain chants. This isn't actually true. And as I've shared in the past, it's important to learn, reflect, and practice to be able to see the truth for yourself. So I'm sharing with you in terms of learning that there's no mystical or magical benefits for chanting. the benefits that you experience are the ones that I'm sharing here. And then you reflect on that. Have you ever done any kind of vocal chanting or any kind of prayer or anything where you instantly received any kind of benefit? And then you kind of practice and you look around. If you go to a particular place, even a Buddhist temple, and they say, oh, there's this special chant, it's a secret chant that only our temple knows, and this will give you an extra long life. Well, if that is true, it wouldn't be a secret anymore. It would have spread like wildfire all throughout the world. And if that was true, you should be able to look around the temple and see a bunch of people that are 150, 200, 300 years old because they've been chanting this chant. And because you're not going to see that, you can conclude that this chant does not do what it is reported to have done. So the chanting that we do, it's in the Pali language. This Pali language is no longer a spoken language today. During the lifetime of the Buddha, everything he taught was spoken orally. He shared all his teachings orally. There wasn't anything written down. The technology to write things down was in China, but it hadn't made it to the region of the world where the Buddha was living, where he was born in what we call Nepal, and he was teaching in what we call Northeast India. So the language that he spoke at the time, it didn't even have a script. Because the technology hadn't made its way to that region of the world, there was no script for the language. All the languages were oral. So they didn't even have the ability to write things down. So the Buddha would teach, and then every 2 weeks, his students would chant and recite his teachings word for word as a way to commit them to memory. So this is how chanting actually got started. But nowadays, because the Pali language is no longer a spoken language and very few people understand the Pali language, a lot of people have started associating these mystical and magical benefits to chanting. The thing about the world is oftentimes the least you know about something, the more mystical and magical it becomes. The chants that I share with you, I'll have the translations for you so that you can see the actual translations and you'll know exactly what the chants are. But a lot of the chanting that is done throughout Buddhist communities, the people who are chanting, they don't even know what the words mean. So it takes on this mystical and magical approach. So always keep in mind that chanting was done during the lifetime of the Buddha just purely to commit the teachings to memory. There's nothing mystical or magical. It's not a rite or ritual or ceremony or worship. It's not prayer to actually chant. You're literally easing the mind into meditation, helping the mind gain this mindfulness or awareness of mind in concentration, because there's a certain amount of concentration that needs to occur in order to focus on chanting, to kind of invigorate the mind. And it helps you to build memory, because the mind is just like a muscle. If a muscle isn't used, it will essentially deteriorate and it won't be there available for you nice and strong. But if you exercise the mind doing things like chanting, then as you're committing those chants to memory, you will need to exercise the mind so that you can have more memory in daily life. And as you're going to see the way that I teach you in chanting, you're going to need to have a certain amount of awareness of breath. And this is going to help you in meditation because you're going to have awareness of the mind and awareness of breath, so that as you ease the mind into meditation, you'll get much more benefit out of the meditation itself. Oftentimes one's mind in daily life is go, 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 go. And this puts a lot of stress in the mind and anxiety. The mind is craving and desiring and chasing after things. So by slowing the mind down and relaxing it through chanting and then through meditation, you can actually go through life with more ease because you're not rushing through life. So these chants are going to help you to get more benefit out of the meditation. The meditation is one tool or one technique that the Buddha uses in order to help you to understand how to get to enlightenment. The Buddha trained his mind during his multiple year pursuit to get to enlightenment. It took him 6 years to get to enlightenment. And as he trained his mind, he developed what he understood to be the path to enlightenment. And then he shared for 45 years how to get to that enlightened mental state through training one's own mind. So he provided these teachings as guidance. These aren't rites or rituals and ceremonies or worship. He never taught any of those things. And he didn't teach prayer either. He provided guidance to awaken to the wisdom system of the natural laws of existence. And as you learn the teachings, you practice them, you can transform the mind and move it to this enlightened mental state where the mind is peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy, no longer experiencing any discontent feelings. So all the sadness, anger, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, boredom, loneliness, the shyness, resentment, jealousy, even the slightest displeasure is eliminated from the enlightened mind. You're never, ever even in a bad mood. You're always in a good mood once the mind gets to enlightenment because you've removed the conditions that are causing the bad mood. You'll have focus, concentration, clarity of mind, and deep memory. These are just a few of the benefits of moving the mind to enlightenment. So these chants that I share with you, they're in the Pali language, and you'll find them throughout Buddhist communities that are practicing the Theravada tradition. The three chants that I'm sharing with you are three very popular chants. You'll see them in multiple communities that are sharing teachings of the Theravada tradition. The Theravada tradition is found in Thailand, Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, southern Vietnam, and Sri Lanka. In reality, this tradition is spread all throughout the world, but this particular tradition called Theravada, what it means is teachings of the elders. It's considered to be the closest form of Buddhism that existed during the lifetime of the Buddha. So the teachings of the Buddha are captured in the Pali language, and that's what we consider to be the source of his teachings. And in this tradition, no matter where you go, you can chant these chants that I'm going to share with you, and you can chant right along with the people that are chanting, no matter where you go, whether it's Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, southern Vietnam, here in Thailand, whether you go to some temple that's teaching Theravada teachings anywhere throughout the world, you should be able to sit down and chant, and right along with them, you'll be chanting in the Pali language. There'll be a little bit of a difference in dialect from one region of the world to another, but by and large, this is what people will be chanting. People from Thailand come together with people from Sri Lanka from time to time, and they chant along together, even though there's a slight difference in the dialect. The way that I chant, people would consider to be kind of with a Thai dialect or with a Thai accent, because I ended up hearing a lot of Thai people chanting. So when I started to chant, I chanted from what I heard. So what you're going to be learning is chanting in the Pali language, and you'll be using a bit of a Thai dialect, the way that I chant and the way that you'll learn to chant. So this is what I have to share with you in terms of the benefits of chanting. And what I'm going to do next is move into helping you learn how to actually chant. But before I do, I would like to just pause and see if anybody has any questions about the benefits of chanting and why one might be interested in learning to chant. You can put those questions into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, and I'll be able to see those in the comment section. Or in Zoom, you can raise your hand electronically and ask any questions or follow-up questions directly. Okay, I have a question here coming in on Facebook, in our Facebook group, Daily Wisdom, Walking the Path with the Buddha. It's from Mayu Lee. She's asking, hello, teacher and classmates. Is it as beneficial to chant inside your head as out loud prior to meditation? I find that it is beneficial to do either way. There's some situations where I've done it quietly, like when I used to travel from the US to Thailand back and forth. I was on 24-hour flights, so I was either in an airplane or in an airport when I needed to be doing meditation. So I would oftentimes sit in my seat on the airplane with my eyes closed and quietly chanting. It helps to build concentration, it helps to build memory, it even helps to invigorate the mind a bit. The audible chanting seems to help the most, but doing chanting inside the mind surely is beneficial. So if that's your option, you can go ahead and do that. So you could do that, or you could do it audible. Audible, as I mentioned, definitely tends to have a lot more benefit. There's sometimes when my son sleeps with me, and prior to doing meditation, rather than doing it out loud because he's already asleep, I will sometimes do it in the mind as well. So there's different reasons why you might decide to do it quietly, and you can do it as you need to. So whether it's quietly or it's out loud, you can do it either way. But what I find is that doing it out loud produces the most benefits. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions anywhere else. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to move into sharing with you guys how to actually do the chanting. So this first chant that I have to share with you is called the Triple Gem or the Triple Jewel. We refer to it that way because it's paying respect to the Buddha, the teachings, and the community. I suspect that these chants weren't actually created by the Buddha. I suspect his students created these either during his life or after his death, because as you see here and as you see with the other chants, there's an enormous amount of respect and gratitude that's being given to the Buddha. A Buddha isn't going to go around and teach things that are to respect him and pay homage to him the way that these chants are created. A Buddha is a teacher that has gotten to enlightenment by themselves without the help of any teachers or any guides. They dedicate the rest of their life to sharing their teachings with countless people, and countless people get to enlightenment during their lifetime. And then they preserve their teachings in such a way that countless more people can get to enlightenment after their death. They have eliminated the ego, any kind of arrogance or boastfulness or pride or measuring and comparing and putting yourself above or below others. So with a individual who's enlightened and who's a Buddha, they're not going to share teachings where people are chanting to them and showing all kinds of gratitude and respect. But if you have learned from an individual who shared teachings with you out of the kindness of their heart through loving kindness and compassion and practicing generosity, they don't want anything from you, they don't expect anything from you, and they've dedicated their time in order to help you move from this unenlightened mind where the mind's angry and sad and frustrated and having other discontent feelings to complete peace and joy where you no longer experience any anger, sadness, or frustration ever again. You would have an enormous amount of respect for that individual. So I suspect that his students, either during his life or after his death, developed these chants as a way to show gratitude and respect to him. And we call this one the triple gem or the triple jewel because it's chanting about the Buddha, the teachings, and the community. In Pali, this is called the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha. And in order to get to enlightenment, you would ultimately need to build confidence in the Buddha, the teachings, and the community that you're part of. If you just had one or two of these things, you wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment. So if you just had confidence in the Buddha, but you didn't have access to his teachings, and you weren't part of a community in which to be able to learn the teachings, you wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment. If you just had access to the teachings, but you didn't have confidence in the Buddha and you weren't part of a community, you wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment. If you were just part of a community, but you weren't having confidence in the Buddha or the teachings, you wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment because you wouldn't have access to the teachings. You're just being a member of a community. So it's only when you have all three of these things, that you have confidence in the Buddha, you have access to his teachings, and you're part of a community, that you can then make your way to enlightenment. And this is called the triple gem or the triple jewel. When someone first comes to the path to enlightenment, you will most likely have doubt. Doubt about the teachings, doubt about the community, doubt about the Buddha, doubt about your teacher, maybe even doubt about your own ability to get to enlightenment. But slowly but surely, as you develop your mind on the path, you will slowly erode and eliminate any doubt because you'll see the improvement to the condition of the mind. Moving the mind from anger and frustration and sadness and other discontent feelings, you know in situations where you once felt that way and you experience those feelings. But when you train your mind to eliminate the conditions that are causing these feelings through understanding the teachings of the Buddha and practicing them to transform your mind, slowly but surely, as you see the improvement to the condition of your mind, you'll get to a point where you have no doubt about the teachings whatsoever, and you'll have this confidence in the Buddha, the teachings, the community, your teacher, and your own ability to get to enlightenment because you'll see the improvement to the condition of the mind. So the way I'm going to teach this to you is I'm going to chant it first, the first time. I'll chant it all the way through. Then I will chant it again and I will show you where the breath is to help you understand where you can possibly take a breath if you'd like to take a breath. Then we'll chant it together and I will instruct you and kind of guide you on where to breathe. And then we'll chant it a fourth time where I won't provide any instruction at all and we'll just go through the chant. So this is the way this one sounds. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakeva Bhutang Mahakevanhang Apivateyami. Sawakato Mahakawata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakwato Sawaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Okay, so as you see there, I do a bow at the end of each phrase of the three of the triple gem and the triple jewel, paying respect. That's something you can choose to do if you like. If you're in a Buddhist community, you might see people raising their hand up to their forehead the way that I did, or you might see people bowing to the ground. It's up to you how you choose to practice. So I'm just sharing with you what all the different options are and how people choose to practice, and then you can decide for yourself what you'd like to do. So here, let me chant it again and I'll explain to you and help you see where the breaths are so that you can potentially decide to take a breath at that place. It's not required that you take a breath at that place. This is just some guidance to help you understand where there's kind of a natural pause in the chanting so that it's kind of a natural place for you to decide to take a little bit of a breath. So normally what you do is you take a nice deep breath at the beginning and then you start with this first phrase. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakawa. And then there's a little half breath right there. Bhutang Mahakavanhang Apivateyami. And then as you're bowing, you take a nice deep breath. Sawakato Mahakawata Dhammo. Little half breath there. Dhammang Namasami. Again, fill up your lungs really big there. Supatipano Mahakwato. Little breath there. Sawaka Sangho. Little breath. Sanghang Namami. And then a bow. And then here you're going to take a nice deep breath because you're going to end up moving on to the next chant from there. Okay, so let's do this one together. If you'd like to learn how to chant, just bring your palms together in front of your sternum. And I'm going to chant this with you and guide you on where the breaths are. So if you'd like to take a nice deep breath here. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakawa. Little breath. Bhutang Mahakavanhang Apivateyami. Nice deep breath. Sawakato Mahakawata Dhammo. Little breath. Dhammang Namasami. Nice deep breath. Supatipano Mahakwato. Little breath. Sawaka Sangho. Little breath. Sanghang Namami. And then a nice bow there if you'd like to bow. Okay, so this is the triple gem or the triple jewel with guidance. But if you'd like to take a little sip of water like I'm going to do and kind of prepare, then we'll do it through one time all the way through without any instruction or any guidance, just chanting together. Okay, so if you'd like to chant this one, we'll go ahead and chant it all the way through. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakawa. Bhutang Mahakavanhang วันหังอภิวาเตมิสวากขาโตมหะควตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหะควโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามิ Okay, maybe give yourself a nice little applause there, right? Give yourself a little encouragement, right? Not arrogance or pride or boastfulness, but just a little of encouragement, a little bit of clap there. So let me know if you guys have any questions on the triple gem or the triple jewel. Again, you can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or you can raise your hand in Zoom electronically and ask any questions or follow-up questions directly. All right, I'm not seeing any questions anywhere. So what I'll do then is I'm going to move on to the next chant, which I just refer to this one as the Namo Tassa. It's a very simple chant. It's just one straight phrase that you repeat 3 times. Oftentimes here in Thailand, when a child is first starting to grow and they start mouthing a few words, maybe around 1.5, 2 years old, Thai people will start chanting this chant and helping their children to learn how to do this chant. And they would have been hearing it at the temple as they were growing up around the temple. So if you find that learning all 3 chants is a bit challenging, you could just learn this one first and then move on to some of the others, because you'll see some of the same syllables in the other chants. This is how I learned it, is I learned this one first, then I learned the triple gem or the triple jewel, which is the one I just taught you, and then the third one is what I learned last. But some people like to just learn them all at one time. So I'm going to do the same thing. Is I'm going to go through chant it once, then I'll chant it again with the instruction of the breath, then I will chant it with all of us and helping you to understand where to breathe, and then we'll do it a 4th time where I won't provide any instruction, we'll just chant all the way through. So the way that this one sounds is like this. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Okay, here you might have been starting to hear the natural breath here. And notice that I'm not bowing with these. It's just straight chanting 3 times the same phrase 3 different times. So here's where the breath is. As you have your hands together, you just take a nice deep breath at the beginning and you chant Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Little breath there. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Nice deep breath to fill up the lungs. Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Little breath. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Nice deep breath. Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Little breath. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Okay, so now let's do it together. And when we do it together, I will guide you on the breath, and then I'll do it one more time without the guidance. So take a nice deep breath here at the beginning with your palms together. Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Little breath. Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Nice deep breath. Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Breath. Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Nice deep breath. Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Breath. Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Okay, so that's the Namo Tassa. Okay, now let's do it without any guidance or anything. You just go through it and just hear the natural place where to take a breath. And if you'd like to take a breath there, you can. This is just guidance for you to be able to understand how to maintain your breath and have awareness of the breath. Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Okay, a little clap. All right, you learned that one. So you got some practice to do, I'm sure, with all of these, but now you've got one more under your belt. So let me see what questions you guys have here on the Namo Tassa. Again, you can put those into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or you can raise your hand in Zoom and ask any questions that you like. Looks like Francis has, or actually it's Miriam has a question here. Are the words written phonetically to match English language? Yeah, so what I did is I listened to the chants and hearing them chanted and learning how to chant them myself. I wrote them out with English characters to be able to help you to be able to chant them. So if you learned these with Thai people, they would have the same chants written out with Thai script. Because remember, there's not really a script here to go along with this that existed during the lifetime of the Buddha. Now the Pali language does have a script that people use in order to document the Pali language, but here I'm using these characters in order to represent what we're chanting in the Pali language. Okay, we have another question coming in here from Mayu Lee. She's asking, as we are chanting, for example, the triple gem, can we visualize the Buddha, the elderly, and the community as we are chanting? Sure, there's no harm in doing that. But what you would like to do is be able to, oh, and she's adding to pay respect. The answer is yes, you could surely do that. But you would just like to be sure you're focusing on the chanting and you're focusing on awakening the mind, kind of invigorating it a bit, kind of bringing some attention to the mind, some awareness to the mind, and awareness to the breath so that you know that you're breathing in and out. You may or may not be able to accomplish all those things when you're first learning, but as you get going, you can surely start to visualize that you're actually chanting and paying respect to the Buddha. This is why people will oftentimes do this in front of an image of the Buddha or the statue of a Buddha or something like that. All right, so looks like we don't have any more questions. Oh, here we go. We have some more from Miriam. I may have to write phonetically, write in my own native language. Thank you. Yes, you can surely do that. You can write this in whatever language you're comfortable with. As you hear it, you're welcome to write it down with whatever language you feel is best to represent the sounds. And by the way, as you're practicing this, you have these chants in Volume 1, Chapter 11. You'll see them in there exactly the way I have them here. On our website, if you go to buddhadailywisdom.com and click on the free books link, down towards the bottom, you'll see the resources there. We'll have a bunch of different resources. And I have a one-page chanting sheet, which will have these chants and the translations for you there. And then also on the podcast and on the YouTube channel, I have a podcast and a YouTube video, which is just the chants. It's like 2.5 minutes, and you could be playing that while you're actually chanting. You could even put it on repeat or put it in the headphones and put it on while you're actually chanting, so you have somebody to chant along with, and you can hear the chanting as you're actually developing the chants. So those are all options to help you to be able to learn these chants outside of class. Okay, so I'm going to move on to this next chant, which is the last one. I refer to it as the ETP So, but there's other ways to refer to it as well. And some people find this one to be a bit more challenging. I know I did, but I've heard some people say that it's actually easier for them. And if you can chant this, you'll find a lot of these syllables in the other chants as well. So once again, I'll do those 4 different ways of chanting. So I'm going to start off first with just chanting it through so that you can hear it. Iti piso emahakawa arahang sammasambuddho vicacaranang sammuno Sakato rokawito anutero purisa Dhammasati satatawap manusanang Poto Bhagavati. And then that's where you would slip into meditation from there. So again, you might be hearing the pauses here and kind of hearing where's a nice place to take a breath. So let me help you understand where those are. You can take a nice deep breath at the beginning, and then we chant Iti piso emahakawa. And then there's a breath there. Arahang sammasambuddho. Nice deep breath. Vicacaranang sammuno. Breath. Sakato rokawito. There's a nice deep breath here. Anutero purisa. Little breath. Dhammasati satatawap manusanang. Little breath. Poto Bhagavati. And I do a nice little bow there at the end. When Thai people chant this, they will tend to end it with ti. They will just stop it, but I kind of drag it out. I think it sounds a bit nice. And then it just kind of ease into meditation from there. Okay, so now we can chant it together, and I will guide you on where the breath is so that you'll know where to actually breathe. So if you have your palms together, if you'd like to do that, you're welcome to. And now take a nice deep breath. Iti piso emahakawa. Little breath. Arahang sammasambuddho. Nice deep breath. Vicacaranang sammuno. Little breath. Sakato rokawito. Nice breath. Anutero purisa. Little breath. Dhammasati satatawap manusanang. Little breath. Poto Bhagavati. My throat's getting a little scratchy. I've been chanting this throughout the day, teaching students. So there you can see where the breaths are, okay? So now let's chant this together, and I won't instruct the breath. We'll just go through and chant it together without any kind of instruction. Iti piso emahakawa Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vichacharanang Sammuno Sakhato Rokavito Anuttero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatava Manusanang Bhutto Bhagavati. Okay, nice little clap there for all of you guys. Good job, good job. Okay, so what I'd like to do here then is to give you guys an opportunity to chant all the way through without any guidance or any instruction, all three chants, where we start with the first one, the triple gem, and then we go right into the Namo Tassa and right into the Iti-Piso. And that's where normally we would slip into meditation from there. So I'll give you guys a chance to go all the way through and kind of get comfortable putting the chants together in all three. And I'm not going to provide any kind of guidance or instruction along the way. Okay, so let me get a nice little drink here. All right, so if you guys would like to chant this, we can all go ahead and chant it together. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Bhutang Bhagavanhang Abhivateyami Savakhato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti-Piso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vichacharanang Sammuno Sakhato Rokavito Anuttero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatava Manusanang Bhutto Bhagavati. All right, good job. Of course, I can't hear you guys, but I'm sure it sounded wonderful. So this is the chanting that I do before meditation and after meditation. Let me see if you guys have any questions at all related to the chanting. And then after that, we'll go ahead and do some meditation together and put this together where we actually chant. And then we go into meditation. I'll guide you guys in breathing mindfulness meditation. And then we'll come out of the meditation with the chanting as well. So if you have questions, you can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or you can raise your hand in Zoom electronically and ask any questions that you like. All right, I'm not seeing any questions anywhere. So let's do this. Let's go through the chanting, and then after the chants, we'll just ease into meditation and I'll provide you guys guidance in meditation. We'll do breathing mindfulness meditation, which is something that I taught in the 4-part series that we started off with at the very beginning of the group learning program. And there I was doing chanting, but I hadn't taught it to you guys yet. So now you can start to actually do the chanting and ease into meditation. I'll provide you some guidance there. And then we can come out with the chanting as well. So if you'd like to join along, you might decide to bring your palms to palm. Take a nice deep breath here. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakava Bhutang Mahakavanhang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti Piso Mahakava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vichacharang Sambuddho Sakato Rokavito Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawap Manusanang Oto Bhagavati. Okay, take a nice deep breath, just gradually establishing the breath. Breathing in through the nose, establishing a nice, natural, steady breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then when you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. You can just use my voice as a reminder to breathe in through the nose, establishing a nice natural breath. And when you're ready, exhale out through the nose, breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the breath, label it, judge it, or even try to figure out where the thoughts are coming from. Wherever you notice that there's a thought that arises in the mind, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath. Whenever you notice that there's a thought, cut it off and let it go. Bring the mind back to the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out.
อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมหะเกวาโหตังมหะเกวันหังอภิวาเตมิสวากขาโตมหะเกวตาธัมโมธัมมังนามาสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหะเกวโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารณังสัมมุโนสกขาโตโรกาวิโตอนุเตโรปุริสาดัมมาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสนังพุทโธภะคะวะติ
All right. If you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation, I'll go ahead and open up to any last minute questions that you guys have related to the chanting. If you have questions, you can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. Or if you're in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand and ask any questions or follow-up questions directly. All right, I'm not seeing any questions anywhere. So what I'll do then is just end class by thanking all of you guys for joining. It's very wonderful to see all of you guys here and learning and actively looking to practice the teachings of the Buddha. As you develop your life practice and moving closer and closer to enlightenment, chanting can be one of the things that can help you as you're progressing towards enlightenment to help deepen your meditation practice. As you're working on your chanting, you can come into the class. You can learn here each Wednesday starting at 9 p.m. Thai time, and we even have a class at 9 a.m. Thai time as well. So you're always welcome to join the classes. And over the next 3 Wednesdays, I will be sharing with you the Buddhist chanting so that you'll be able to learn how to do the chanting. And then between now and next week, if you would like to practice the chanting as part of your meditation, you can do that. And then next week, you might have some questions and you need some further practice. I can gradually help you over 3 sessions to be able to then develop your chanting practice. And then ultimately, after our 4-part series, we will go back to breathing mindfulness meditation 1 week and loving kindness meditation the next week. And we'll just rotate back and forth like that all the way through the end of the group learning program. This Sunday, we're going to be in chapter 5 of this book, Developing a Life Practice, The Path That Leads to Enlightenment. In chapter 5, we're studying the Eightfold Path, the path for all humans to enlightenment. This is where you're going to learn how to train the mind to get to this enlightened mind where the mind can be peaceful and joyful. You would need to know this inside and out, backwards and forwards, in order to make your way to enlightenment. So even though I covered this at the beginning of the group learning program, we visited again here to be able to help you to then be able to understand the Eightfold Path and be able to practice it and get any help that you need in understanding what the Eightfold Path is and how to actually practice it. Then on Saturdays, of course, we have our Pali Canon and English study group, which are always welcome to join. All of these classes, whether it's Sunday, Wednesday, or Saturday, I'm live streaming now at 9 a.m. Thai time and 9 p.m. Thai time. So depending on what time it is in your time zone, you have two options available to you to be able to attend classes and learn the same thing. So you can attend one or the other. Some people have even been attending both in some cases, or you can even listen to the replay. So the recording is on Facebook, it's on YouTube, and it'll even be in our podcast as well. So thank you all again for joining. We'll perhaps see you guys in one of these future classes. Have a very lovely and wonderful rest of your day. Sawadee krap.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To provide support for this podcast, visit patreon.com/support Buddha. To access more teachings, visit buddhadailywisdom.com. There, you will discover a full range of courses, retreats, and online resources to assist you on the path to enlightenment. Remember to establish a daily, consistent meditation practice, along with learning and practicing these teachings. A well-developed meditation practice is the foundation in which to train the mind to attain enlightenment.